Hi everyone, this is Carmen.
And Christina.
And this is Historias Unknown, a podcast where we talk about Latin American history. Sometimes it's horrible and deals with heavy topics like racism, corruption, and genocide.
But more than that, it's also about community, power, and resistance.
And today,
what are we doing today?
Today we're talking about Nixon, unfortunately. But some things happened to him that will bring you joy.
And we need joy in times like these.
Do we ever?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into it. Okay, so the 1950s were a rough all over Latin America, mostly because of the United States, of course, always.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, let's remember that during the 50s, the U.S. intervened all over Latin America, supporting dictatorships in the name of anything but communism, right?
Right. Brutal right-wing dictatorships were better than
anything
communist governments, yeah.
And so obviously Latin Americans were discontent with the United States because, like you just said, the United States was supporting dictatorial regimes all over Latin America. For example, a topic we did an episode on, in 1954, the democratically elected Guatemalan president, Jacobo Arbenz, was overthrown in a U.S.-supported coup. That's just one example.
One example of many.
Yeah. And so for some reason, the United States thought it was, well, not for some reason, but because of foreign policy. The U.S. thought it was a good idea to send then Vice President Nixon to tour mostly South America. The U.S. sent then Vice President Nixon to tour Latin America, like a goodwill type of tour. And the U.S. was feeling partly optimistic because Perón in Argentina had just been deposed, and Arturo Frondizi, who the U.S. thought would be cooperative of them or with them, had just been elected. And in Colombia, Alberto Lleras Camargo had just been elected. And this was someone Nixon had described as, quote, an enlightened and dedicated statesman. I'm not sure why I didn't look further into that, but it's concerning for Nixon to say that.
That's bad coming from Nixon, yeah.
So Nixon and his wife, Pat, left for Latin America in late April/early May of 1958. And at first, things were uneventful. Nixon and his people were greeted mostly warmly in Uruguay, where only about 40 students protested.
Oh, yeah, that's a little bit.
In Argentina, he went to a barbecue and attended Frondizi's inauguration. And it seems like there were no issues in Paraguay or Bolivia. It wasn't until Nixon and his crew got to Peru on May 7th, 1958, where they faced discontent of the rock-throwing kind.
Oh, rockings.
Not stonings, not rockings. The crowd at the San Marcos University, which numbered in the thousands in Peru, threw rocks at him and prevented him from entering the university altogether, chanting, Nixon, go home. And I guess he was scheduled to do a debate there for some reason. Yeah, and they didn't let him in.
The original Charlie Kirk, if you will.
Except he was actually...
he was...
vice president.
Yeah.
Not just some podcaster.
Yeah.
And he got into a little argument that I didn't write down here, but because I forgot to write about it. But I'm pretty sure it was here. Yeah, he got into an argument with one of the students, and he's like, "Just let me tell you the truth."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You
don't want to know the truth. And it's like, yeah, they know the truth. That's why they're protesting you.
Why do you think they're there?
So Nixon waded into the crowd with only 2 staff members by his side, and he was hit by a rock in the neck.
Oh no.
It grazed him. It didn't fully look,
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous. Rockings can be dangerous.
They can. And one of his staff members got hit by a rock too.
Oh no.
Yeah. Once he got back to the hotel, a protester, a hero. He got through security and he spit on Nixon's face.
Is there footage of this?
No, there's not. No.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately.
Oh my God. Do you know how happy that would make me feel? If that was today, there would be footage.
Oh yeah, hands down. So that was in Peru, and then after Nixon's tumultuous visit to Peru, Eisenhower sent a cabled. I'm not sure about the terminology of sending cables, but he sent a message to Nixon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dear Dick, your courage, patience, and calmness in the demonstration directed against you by radical agitators have brought you new respect and admiration in our country. I am certain that the vast majority of citizens, both in Peru and in the U.S., deplored the incident caused by a few, mind you, it was thousands, Back to the quote. I know with satisfaction that the Peruvian government has already expressed to you its regret. Indeed, I feel that every participant in the mob will finally come to feel a sense of guilt and embarrassment because of its failure to show a friendly visitor the ordinary measure of courtesy and hospitality. Give my love to Pat and warm regards to you. End quote. Dumb.
Not hospitality. Shut the fuck up.
And then, once again, there were no issues in Ecuador and Colombia. But things changed in Venezuela.
Where? Venezuela, of course.
Had to be Venezuela.
Yeah, I'm not surprised there. And this is, sorry, what years?
In 1958. I don't know what's going on in Venezuela during this time. Well, I know a little bit.
Let me tell you.
Oh, what?
Oh,
you want to
okay.
fill in the blanks a little bit? I do mention a little bit later. Of course, Venezuelans were mad because of what was going on with their brethren all over Latin America, but also because the U.S. supported the dictator who had just been ousted.
Yes. And there's
Months
a lot
before.
of guerrilla warfare going on
In
at this time in Venezuela.
58?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. On May 13th, 1958, Nixon and his crew arrived in Caracas, Venezuela, to continue the Goodwill Tour. And things did not get better there, to the point where Nixon had to cut his trip short. Besides U.S. injustices in Latin America as a whole, one of the reasons Venezuelans were unhappy with the U.S. was because the U.S. had supported the former dictator, Marcos Pérez Jiménez, who was overthrown only a few months before Nixon's visit. In fact, Eisenhower had even given Pérez Jiménez a medal for meritorious services.
Of course.
So Nixon was met by a mob pretty much immediately as soon as he got off the plane, who, quote, purposely disrupted the welcoming ceremony by shouting, blowing whistles, waving derogatory placards, throwing stones, and showering the Nixons with human spittle and chewing tobacco, end quote.
Human spittle.
Yeah, old-timey word for spit.
Beautiful. And like, I mean, I don't think it needs to be said, but the Pérez Jiménez regime was a brutal one, very repressive. Thousands were jailed, many were killed. And I believe he does return at some point.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
The crowd also threw bottles, eggs, oranges, and shouted things like, Yankee, go home. You're not welcomed. American dogs. Imperialist.
Beautiful.
Some signs read, Nixon, your government is responsible for the Guatemalan tragedy.
And they were right.
And as the Nixons drove through Caracas, their motorcade was forced to a crawl, and soon after, a crowd of several hundred descended on their car, throwing rocks and banging on the windows. Some were injured. Nixon's secretary, Rosemary Woods, was hit by glass. Vernon Walters, a U.S. Army officer serving as a translator, ended up with a mouthful of glass.
Oh.
Bruce Henderson, a reporter from the U.S. who was there during this, wrote, quote, I was an American, and here before my eyes, the vice president of the United States was on the verge of very possibly being beaten to death, end quote. And the crowd started to rock the car back and forth.
Imagine that's where Nixon would have met his end.
Things might have been different for Vietnam. I don't know.
Imagine.
So the crowd started to rock the car back and forth, and Secret Service agents felt that Nixon's life was in danger, so they drew their guns at the crowd. And in a moment that some, or parentheses me, in a moment that some feel like it gives too much credit to Nixon, he told the Secret Service agents to hold their fire, and ultimately no shots were fired. Which, whatever, no one died, so that's good. That's good. It's a good thing.
That's good.
Imagine
That's
how bad
good.
that would have looked, though, for the U.S.
I mean, that's probably why he did it. Imagine the optics.
Yeah.
U.S. goes to foreign country in a goodwill tour and then guns down protesters.
In his memoir, Nixon said he thought that they might be killed during this incident and described it as one of the scariest experiences of his life. And there are different accounts as to how Nixon's motorcade got through the crowd. Some say a press truck was able to block oncoming traffic in the opposite lane, and so they were able to turn around and escape. And then there's like different variations of this.
Okay.
Per the Secret Service, the Venezuelan police had declined to intervene and to clear the crowd. And the Venezuelan foreign minister, who was actually in the car with them, with Nixon. Oscar Garcia later said that the police declined to intervene because the communists had helped to overthrow Perez Jimenez. So they're like, oh, we don't want to mess with them. They helped us.
I see. Yeah, they were working together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big coalition of all these different groups, including like the military, what you would consider like centrist, like, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the United States was quick to blame the communists for these protests throughout South America, but in reality, sure, the communists were involved because they were always organizing, but this was bigger than the communists because everybody was mad.
With reason.
Yeah. And the U.S. also mobilized the military when they learned about the protests and attacks against Nixon in Venezuela. And they almost invaded in an operation called Operation Poor Richard.
What a stupid name. Why are they always coming up with the dumbest names? Oh my God. I'm like so mad just hearing the name.
That's how I felt when I read it. I'm like, no. Are you shitting me right now? So a fleet of 12 ships were being readied to enter Venezuela. The U.S. says to cooperate with the Venezuelan government. Others say Eisenhower was preparing to invade the country.
And that sounds about right.
Of course, when these protests were reported on in the United States, it painted Nixon as the victim. In the May 19th, 1958 issue of Life magazine, Nixon was depicted angrily pointing his finger in the face of a student protester. And this is during the debates that were supposed to happen that I was telling you about.
Yes, in Peru.
Mm-hmm, and they described the image as, quote, a righteously angry man armed with nothing but a pistol pointed finger standing up to a mob of bullies, and, quote, goaded to wrath by denial of the right to free speech, end quote.
Oh my God. Nixon is not the little guy here.
Exactly. You're going to paint the vice president of one of the, probably at this time, the most powerful country in the world and the, quote, police of the world as a victim of bullies from a country that had been brutalized by the United States, and you're going to paint them as the bullies. This is just ridiculous. And of course, this was bigger than Nixon, right? They were not protesting Nixon himself. They were protesting the United States, but he was a representative of the United States.
Yes, but also there was reason to protest Nixon himself.
Not really, not at this point yet, because he was the vice president.
No, not yet. I'm thinking of the future.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is painting it as that they were protesting Nixon himself takes away the fault of the United States.
And isn't that what they're always
causing
doing?
Turmoil? Yes. And that's the same way they're painting it as a free speech issue is to gloss over the atrocities of the United States and what they had done so far in Latin America during this time. That's why people were mad. They weren't denying Nixon his free speech. They were saying, fuck you, United States. You have terrorized us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. Like, it was bigger than Nixon.
Yeah.
But of course, that's not how the US media painted it.
No.
And I found a cool article, like a research academic paper about the Life magazine article. And they wrote about contradicting the United States centric narrative and pointing out the implications of using terms like free speech and how US imperialism had an involvement in this. But the US media glossed over that, of course. And in their article, research article, they had alternative videos and pictures and oral accounts from student protesters. But I couldn't open it, and I wanted to open it.
What? Why couldn't you open it?
It wouldn't let me open it. I don't know. When Nixon returned to the United States, pretty much everyone was kissing his fucking ass. They were kissing his ass. Eisenhower ordered that Nixon should receive a hero's welcome and gave all federal U.S. government workers in D.C. the day off so they could greet him when he arrived. And so Nixon got off the plane to a cheering crowd of 10,000 people that included Congress leaders and members and ambassadors from most Latin American countries.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I can't even control my face.
I know, I see you. Nixon was painted as calm and collected by most U.S. media, with one exception. The New Republic claimed that the attack on Nixon was a hoax to help Nixon's chances in the upcoming election, which was a unique take.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Venezuela, after the protests, Most of the presidential candidates for the 1958 election denounced the attack, except for the incumbent president, Admiral Larrazabal, who said he would have joined the protest if he were a student.
I love that.
And some speculate that the attacks Nixon faced during the Goodwill Tour highly influenced his attitude toward Latin America and his later support of U.S. intervention in the region, including supporting dictators, which the U.S. is already doing anyway.
They were going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Nixon later said that all of Latin America, except for Colombia, who notably greeted him warmly during the tour, was too mature for a democratic government and would be better run as authoritarian regimes. And he also said that about France and Italy.
We hate Nixon. Yes, there was protests in Italy, Rome.
I didn't know that.
I saw a sign of someone in Rome. They're holding a sign that says Nixon, and they put the Nazi symbol as the X.
Oh, wow. And that was in Rome.
Yes, that was Rome.
Wow. I mean, they had a reason to say that.
Yeah, yeah.
No wonder he said that about them.
Yeah, yeah.
This incident also made U.S. policymakers aware of the growing resentment against the U.S. policies in Latin America.
Which they thought he was going to be received with open arms.
Yeah. And by the end of 1958, the U.S. National Security Council listed Yankee phobia as a key challenge to U.S. interests in Latin America.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
Yankee phobia?
Yep.
I do have that.
Yeah. And yeah, those were the protests against Nixon in 1958.
Wow. More power to the places that met him with that fierce protest.
Power to the people who were resisting U.S. imperialism.
This reminds me of, remind me again when Panama was invaded. That was Bush Sr.?
Bush Sr., yeah.
Elder Bush went to Panama after the U.S. invasion. And he was similarly met with the crowd.
What did he expect?
They had to leave. I don't even think he finished his tour, his speaking engagement that he had scheduled in Panama. The car, like, it couldn't even move.
Similar to Nixon.
It was going to be overturned. Yes, they had to leave. They were ready to use, because the U.S. military was already there. So they were like ready to gun down more people. Wow. Because again, a lot of people died in Panama.
Yeah.
More than they have ever admitted to. Mm-hmm. And there's footage of this one because this was in the, late 19...
It would be in the late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's footage of this one, and you can actually see it in the Panama Deception documentary.
Oh, I still need to watch that.
Yeah. The very long documentary, also a little bit cheesy, where you have that, like, 90s
editing style, yeah.
Yeah, there's like... And it's just very dramatic, but so informative. They really went in there and talked to the people, and there's footage of his car not even being able to move, being shaken. The windows were shattered. Yeah. He was met with fierce resistance, and then they thought they were going to be met with open arms.
It's like, what do you expect after you wreak havoc all over the world to be received with open arms? So people are mad, as they should have been and continue to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the World Cup, whenever the U.S. enters a match, for them to be booed to oblivion. I don't think FIFA that will happen,
being held here?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, there's going to be games in Mexico and Canada, too.
But I'm like, how is that going to work? Like,
I don't think that would be aired.
Yeah.
I think they would like cut it.
Well, they did that in NFL games when Trump has been there and they boo him. They quiet down the boos.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thanks for this joyful episode. We really needed this.
It brought me joy.
And I'm smiling for the first time.
But dude, how petty would it have been for Nixon to be like, oh, I'll never get over this Latin America. Besides that, they, we're already going to intervene.
I believe he did that.
I believe that. Yeah. I believe that too.
No, I believe
that's my theory of events, of motivation.
And I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. Very Stephen Miller-like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that, we'll end this episode and we'll get into the episode where we can talk shit about
we should say
Stephen
bye,
Miller.
right?
Yes, I was about to say bye.
Oh, sorry. I thought you weren't. I thought you were just going to
No,
go
no,
straight to
of course I
yapping.
was.
If anyone
No,
wants to hear
no.
us yap, we yap about current events, the current horrors, and yet we persist. When things are lighter, we talk about internet drama, but things have not been light, okay?
They have not.
So we have been talking about the terrors, and
But we also take that little measly Patreon money that we get. It's not a lot, but whatever we get, part of it gets donated to different immigrant rights organizations. And we have been doing that since we began, and we will keep doing it. Even if we're just getting $20 a month, it doesn't matter. That's going to go to immigrant rights activists, organizations, I mean. So if you want to help us do that, then head on over to Patreon. You'll get ad-free episodes, but also these weekly episodes where we talk about current events, and just and we hope that this Nixon meeting resistance in Latin America, we hope that that was one less historia unknown for you.
bye.
Bye.